At 32, Elizabeth Carter is Schmidt and Schmidt's youngest partner. Wallace Architecture tonight. My father Richard Carter, Carter Industries CEO. Retirement after 40 years. I eat alone at table 19 while my brothers James and Thomas flank tells 200 guests, I owe everything to my sons. Daughter was unprepared for real business. As a plaza reps, I feel broken and rise. I hold a neatly wrapped box, my last gift to him, before I discuss that night and its consequences. That impacted our family forever. Tell me where you're watching and if you've ever felt undervalued by someone who should have trusted in you most. Like and subscribe. Trust me. When Father opened that box after I left, no one expected what happened next, especially him as the only child. Daughter of Richard Carter means living in the shadow. My earliest recollection. Dad was discussing something at our great dining table over a Sunday family supper when I was 8. Quarterly forecasts with James and Thomas, then 11 and 13 when I asked my father about inventory turnover, which I'd heard and examined in his business publications. He laughed. Why don't you help your mother with dessert? This is business talk. Was my first realization that my father valued me based on my gender, but it wasn't the last. Richard Carter Industries was founded on determination and $5,000 loan from his uncle. Born to working-class Cleveland parents, he attended State College and launched his manufacturing company at 24, dominated the region by 35 and 50. National recognition. His rags to riches story became corporate legend. Circles with his strict ideals and ancient morals. A man provides, builds, and leaves a legacy he would recite like scripture. Dinner. My mother Margaret warmed his chilled practicality. A previous literature professor who quit after James was born reinforced my design interests. She sat with me for hours as I built beautiful paper buildings as a child. Anything I could discover. Your father builds things that function, she said, you build things that inspire. She died of breast cancer when I was 16, leaving a loss no one could fill. Funeral. When relatives gave condolences, I heard my father talking to his brother. At least my boys can carry on the business, he stated softly but clearly. That's what counts most. I pretended not to hear, yet their words stuck. I always assumed my father saw me as an afterthought academically. Achievements routinely outperformed my brother's valedictorian of my high school class, whereas James and Thomas were ordinary kids. Complete MIT architectural scholarship despite attending state schools on dad's pay. Excellent GPA. Drawing buildings wasn't a priority for Richard Carter, who survived on CS and occasional BS. I was accepted to MIT's famed architecture department, and he said it was glorified art. Carter was never an artist, but 3 events defined him. I started our relationship when I was 12 with my science fair project. Sustainable building materials were honored by the state on. My proud mother attended my acceptance on Wednesday night. Diploma and medal. My father missed Thomas's junior varsity basketball game, albeit Thomas spent much of it on the bench. After my mother's death, overheard talk that verified my familial hierarchy. The third was at my MIT graduation. Picked to furnish a student address for architecture school. My father arrived 20 minutes late, missing my speech completely, leaving shortly after the ceremony and checking his watch during the brief photos. My mother's sister said James has a meeting with potential investors. He raced away. My brother had lunch with a mid-level manager from Carter Industries, a client. My brothers weren't evil, just complacent in a system that benefited them. Sometimes I caught them. James looked at me with guilt after a while. Especially harsh comment from her father concerning my interest. Thomas hesitantly caressed my shoulder. You know, Dad. I was shocked when he said that explained everything. After graduation, refusal of the mandatory Carter Industries work. Instead, I accepted an entry-level employment at Schmidt & Wallace, a renowned architecture firm focusing in. My father predicted, you'll be back asking for a real job within a year. My lakefront design. 8 years later, I became the firm's youngest partner in 60 years. The Hammond Award went to Commons, a mixed-use development with sustainable energy and community areas. For innovative design architecture's Oscar. My salary now surpassing both my brothers, but I never told anyone my father's answer to each. Success was expected, dismissal veiled as mild compliments, fortuitous break. Stated wonderful things about my collaboration when viewed images. Award-winning design when compared to running a genuine corporation with hundreds of people, he said. We kept a courteous distance when I appeared in Architectural Digest. I saw him on significant holidays. Occasionally, we exchanged niceties and avoided substantial conversation. Chad, he made preemptive questions regarding my designs, forgetting my project names. Appreciating their importance in my field, I stopped expecting more until his retired gala changed everything. Invitations came with embossed cream card stock envelopes. Founder Richard J. Carter's retirement in gold letters. Carter Industries CEO, the Grand Marriott, downtown Chicago, black tie. Optional 3 weeks notice. I watched it over breakfast in my lakeside condo. Marcus inquired, "Are you going?" as coffee grew cold. My 2-year-old partner grasped the difficult landscape from across the table. Of my family ties as a corporate psychologist, he understood poisonous workplace dynamics and saw similarities in the Carter family structure. I should. Although the concept made me agree, later that day my best friend Sophia was less tactful over our monthly lunch. "He'll make it about your brothers," she warned, stabbing her. Because Sophia had seen too many Carter family interactions throughout our 15-year relationship. I thought maybe Richard would be himself since it's his retirement. He'll reflect at milestones, humans gain perspective. James called unexpectedly that evening. "We're putting up a memorial film," he said. "Bring some old family photos or write something about Dad for the montage." Despite not being involved in planning, searched boxes of old photos for memorable occasions for hours. Dad helping me to ride a bike, his rare smile when I won a middle school design competition, a Christmas candid. I wrote a liberal paragraph on his determination when he had his arm over my shoulder when I was 14. Vision. I shared my admiration for his hard ethic and altruism. Mostly for tax benefits, but nonetheless useful for adapting to shifting markets. I didn't mention our relationship. Some truths weren't appropriate for a retirement tribute. Choosing an outfit took similar attention. I ultimately chose a fitted blue suit with architectural elements for a business event. Lapels and cuffs that indicated my professionalism. Courteous but without trying to be something I wasn't. I wondered what to give a man. Those you want materially but have given you little emotionally. Traditional retirement gifts appeared. Hollow timepieces, golf accessories, fishing gear. None fit my needs. Express. The solution came when I visited my mother's safety deposit box, which I'd kept since her death. Jewelry and crucial documents were in a sealed packet with my name in her exquisite script. Few newspaper copies of my early design she saved for me. Contest winner writes a note praising my determination. Photos my mother wrote on the models I constructed as a child for Elizabeth to remind her of her worth. Envelope. My present took shape. I spent the next week gathering additional items: MIT diploma, architecture license, award certificates, financial statements, newspaper clippings from my biggest ventures. I made a USB stick with a film montage. I wrapped the box in costly silver paper with a simple title, "What It Takes," chronicling my professional path. Navy ribbon, Carter Industries colors, and a note from you. Worst failure. 2 days before the gala, Thomas called Dad's weird behavior. Contemplating retiring, he keeps revising his speech. I thought Thomas could be emotional about the change. Despite sounding dubious, "He'll be delighted you're coming," he remarked, that modest. It gave me an uncomfortable optimism that my father could eventually praise my accomplishments in his parting address, so he may see me clearly at this important time. Marcus offered moral support the first time, but I felt like I needed to face this alone. I told him having you there might make things easier, but easy isn't necessarily better than night. Reminding myself of my portfolio in my home office before the gala. Of what I had achieved without Carter's name or resources, I glanced at the wrapped gift on my coffee table. I almost didn't bring it, but I remembered my mother's comments from years ago, "Sometimes the most kind thing we do." Honestly, I carefully placed the item in a tote bag for tomorrow. The Grand Marriott's diamond ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers. Round white linen tables with orchid arrangements. Each centerpiece Carter Industries banner had exact white and blue roses and lilies. Carefully placed 40 years of brilliance and developing America's future beside the. I arrived on time, sliding past the iconic company logo. Photographers captured guests against a branded backdrop. Cocktail hour was in full swing. Business associates. Black suits, champagne flutes, and practice grins. Elizabeth is. My father's cousin Bernard approached with martini. So you're still doing architecture? Great hobby. Same interactions. Followed Dad's golf friends board members. Veteran executives mildly surprised by my continuous professional life. Your father must be proud, they said dryly. Suggested otherwise. James saw me waving from across the room with his wife Vanessa. Thomas and Rebecca greeted us with quick clothing comments. Mentions recent vacations without discussing Dad's. I was meeting with Japanese investors in the corner when James pointed to a group of men near the bar. Should greet before starting the conversation with my father was brief, so he apologized from his talk as I offered Elizabeth a mechanical half hug. You made it. He looks at my clothes. Finally dressed professionally. Congratulations on your retirement, Dad. I ignored the backhanded compliment. He looked past me to someone more important than me. Your brothers put together. The seating arrangement underlined my status in the family hierarchy. James and Thomas flanked our father at head table, wives alongside them. I was at table 19. My gift-filled tote bag sat next my chair with distant cousins and mid-level colleagues. As servers brought the first meal, a lobster bisque I couldn't taste because to throat problems, the program began. After the main course, which I hardly touched, a video screen dropped from the ceiling and the lights darkened. Homage montage music grew as photos showed youthful entrepreneur Richard starting his first plant, meeting governors and senators and getting business awards. The family part showed him coaching James and Thomas in small league and attending Thomas's college, graduating proudly between them at Carter Industries' new facility opening. Appeared in only one family portrait, taken when I was 10 before my mother's death. Disease. No mention of my professional accomplishments or existence beyond. In that early vision, choosing a route was like dying. Outside the family firm, peers praised Richard's business acumen and negotiation skills. CFO expressed his commitment to preparing skills and family values. Another generation pointed at my brothers James and Thomas and issued a joint speech honoring their father's guidance. Everything we know about business we learned from Dad. James said his legacy lives on through the values he's instilled in us. Thomas concluded. Richard Carter walked the podium to great acclaim, aged 65, still 6 feet tall. With gray hair and a dominating posture, he straightened his tie. A gesture I'd seen at many business and family dinners suggested he was ready to say. He started glancing over the crowd. 40 years of building something vital. He expanded from a Cleveland warehouse to 12 countries. Expected observations. Challenges overcame risks that paid off. Dedicated workers who helped the company succeed, then the change that changed everything. I'm often asked what I'm most proud of after 40 years in company, he said. Easy tone. I'm pleased of my son's legacy. He motioned to James and Thomas, warming up. They've demonstrated they can advance Carter Industries since they comprehend sacrifice, approach, and responsibility of leadership. A gap in which he seemed to search the room until his gaze. The room quieted down, unlike my daughter who picked another way. Noticing the tone change, I worried about Elizabeth, but he proceeded as if discussing a bad investment. But I've realized that she was never cut out for this world. Some folks aren't made out for actual business. Scattered uncomfortable laughter echoed across the audience, and many looked at me with sympathy. Embarrassed at the head table, James inspected his dish attentively. Thomas went tiny yet silent. A searing sensation spread across my chest. Crystal chandelier lights felt too brilliant and room too warm. Grasped the table edge, determined not to cry and not to let him break me. Cruel harshness. Richard proudly listed each son's accomplishments. James' successful European expansion deal is obvious in every phrase. Thomas's innovative supply chain restructuring and pandemic leadership kept Carter alive. Industries profitable while competitors failed. 5 minutes discussing my brother's business ability, nothing more. Businesspeople and women stood to applaud his only daughter when he finished. I sat with one hand while they applauded Richard Carter and his boys. Clinging to the gift box I'd taken from the tote bag, my nails left crescent marks. My hand in that instant I made a decision. I smoothed my jacket and grabbed up. My heels clicked as I approached the stage. Polished floor seemed abnormally loud when discussion slowed. I moved cautiously, looking at my father who was still standing. At the podium, taking compliments from those closest to the stage, his demeanor changed. James went from triumph to confusion when he saw me behind him. Half rose from his seat, unsure whether to intercept me. Thomas discreetly touched his brother's arm. Restraining him, I climbed the 3 stairs to the stage, cognizant of 200 pairs of eyes watching my every move. My exterior stayed calm. Years presenting architectural concepts to crucial clients taught me to exude confidence despite my inexperience. Internal state, but my heart pounded my ribs and a voice yelled escape. I ignored it and continued. Richards. He smiled reflexively as I approached him, but his eyes didn't meet mine. Elizabeth, he said gently, clutching the microphone, this isn't the moment to congratulate Dad on his retirement. Stated my voice steadily despite my turmoil. I brought you something. Extended the silver-wrapped box to him, but he didn't take it, his look ranging from "It's not time for gifts, Elizabeth," he said louder. Of warning in his tone, "I think it's timely," I replied. I gave him the box from your biggest failure to open when I'm gone. Turns away from the microphone and leaves the stage before he can react. The ballroom is silent. Ultimate down the steps, head high, shoulders back, channeling every ounce of professional poise I'd gained from years in male-dominated workplaces past the head table where my brothers sat, transfixed past business executives' astonished looks. Relatives and friends whose dessert plates become fascinating through the grand double. I entered the hotel lobby with its dim illumination and scarce crowds only after I approached my car. The parking garage broke my composure as I struggled with the keys, finally collapsing. I cried years of disappointment in the driver's seat. Disdain and silent wrath poured forth like a torrent I couldn't control. The driving wheel pushing my forehead against its cool surface until my breathing stabilized to drive. I left the garage but only made it 3 streets before being overwhelmed again by the magnitude of. I had publicly questioned Richard Carter, the untouchable patriarch, and left. From the facade of family harmony for appearances that was irreversible. My phone buzzed. James text notifications, "What did you give him?" From Thomas, "Dad seems like he saw a ghost, contact me." I hushed the phone and drove home in a strange emotional limbo, neither triumphant nor remorseful, simply hollow. Marcus would be in my apartment after returning from his trip if I had all my heart. Nighttime work event. One look at my face told him everything. "That bad?" he asked, and I fell into his grip. I felt held when recounting my father's public appearance. Shame my rash response. My gift left behind, it was all saved for years, said voice rough from tears. Diplomas, awards, press. About my building's financials indicating I make more than James and Thomas. The USB containing a film, mom's letter of pride and my determination. I stopped my career. He won't see Marcus. Tenderly touched my hair and wrote, his biggest failure. Not mine, I stated. He called me that to family members when he thought I couldn't hear. I wanted him to see exactly what his failure has accomplished. What do you anticipate happens now? Marcus inquired cautiously. I considered. I don't remember thinking past stepping out. I admitted, maybe nothing, maybe he'll see me for who I am. Am I not what he wanted? Maybe it doesn't matter, but as I stated, those remarks weren't true, yet it didn't matter or I wouldn't have invented the box. Richard Carter remained still at the platform with the silver-wrapped package as the ballroom doors closed behind his daughter. The microphone amplified his unsteady breathing. 200 guests were locked in agony in the hushed chamber. Witnessing an unexpected family drama, James approached the platform, bending toward his father. Dad, we should continue the program, he whispered, we can deal with this later. Richard shook his head. Noticeable movement, his fingers grabbed the box tighter, tearing the expensive wrapping paper. Without telling his son, he removed the navy Ribbon then carefully separated the tape from the silver paper. The microphone took up each sound. Whisper of paper, tiny tremble in his respiration, plain white box underneath offered no hints about its contents. Contents. Richard removed the lid and glanced inside, his emotions changing from displeasure to confusion to something more sophisticated. He removed each piece first. The framed MIT diploma with Elizabeth Carter's name and summa cum laude appearing. He placed it on the platform and revoked her architecture license after analyzing it. Briefly before laying it beside the diploma, the Hammond Award medal's shiny surface caught the light as he held it up briefly before understanding it was a USB drive labeled "What It Takes," and then a yellowed letter written in handwriting made him halt, recognition flashing over his eyes. His late wife's message to their daughter is handwritten. He dropped it like it burnt his fingers and unpacked the box. Newspaper clips, financial statements, sleek modern building photos. A solitary note card came from the bottom of Elizabeth's award-winning designs built around the world. Richard slowly studied the box, his skin paling under the. As he placed the ballroom lights on top, his hand shook slightly.